The war just entered a completely different dimension. For 17 days, Iran has been hammering Israel and American bases across the Middle East. Wave after wave, 56 waves in total. But today, Tehran did something far more calculated, far more dangerous, and far more consequential. Iran didn't just shoot at soldiers, Iran shot at the factories that make the weapons that stop the missiles. They hit Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, the company that builds Iron Dome, David Sling, and the Iron Beam laser system. And they hit IAI Israel Aerospace Industries, the company that produces Arrow 2 and Arrow 3, capable of intercepting ballistic missiles at altitude in one coordinated strike. Iran targeted the spine of Israel's entire air defense ecosystem. So here is the question every military analyst is asking right now. If Israel can't replenish its interceptors faster than Iran can launch missiles, what happens next? Does the Iron Dome simply go dark? Stay with me, because the answer is more alarming than you think. Welcome to Flashpoint, where we break down the tactical reality in real time. If you are not subscribed yet, do it right now. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss a single update. It is March 17th, 2026. We are 17 days into a conflict that began on February 28th with a joint U.S.-Israeli operation codenamed Epic Fury, a massive strike campaign targeting Iran's nuclear infrastructure, its military command structure, and its leadership, killing senior IRGC commanders. Iran's response was immediate. Under Operation True Promise 4, Iran launched ballistic missiles against Israel and American bases across the entire region. The Strait of Hormuz is effectively blockaded. Oil is trading above $100 a barrel. Global shipping insurance rates have tripled. Now, today's strike, Iran used a combination of Fatah hypersonic missiles, EMAD, and Ghadr ballistic missiles, along with a drone swarm, to target the specific facilities inside Israel. First, the Rafael Advanced Defense Systems Complex. Rafael is not just a defense contractor. It is the industrial backbone of Israeli air defense. This is where Iron Dome batteries are assembled. This is where David's Sling interceptors are manufactured. This is where the Spike anti-tank missile comes from. This is where Iron Beam, Israel's experimental laser defense system, is being developed. Destroy Rafael's production capacity, and Israel cannot rebuild what it loses in combat. Second, IAI Israel Aerospace Industries. IAI produces the Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 interceptors, the systems specifically designed to engage ballistic missiles in the upper atmosphere and in space. IAI also builds Hermes 900 surveillance drones, cruise missiles, and Israel's military satellite components. Netanyahu's office issued a statement calling the strikes an act of industrial warfare and promising a response at a time and place of our choosing. The IDF confirmed structural damage to at least one facility, but has not released full casualty. Figures from the sites, Iran claimed complete destruction of both complexes. The truth, as usual, is somewhere in between. But even partial damage to these facilities carries catastrophic implications for Israel's ability to sustain this war. Let's talk about why this strike is a potential game changer, and I do not use that term lightly. Israel entered this war already in a weak position on interceptors. Reports confirmed that the June 2025 conflict, a 12-day exchange also labeled Operation Rising Lion, consumed a significant portion of Israel's Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 stockpiles. The United States also deployed THAAD systems to the region, burning through more than $495 million in THAAD interceptors in that earlier engagement alone. When the current war began on February 28th, Israel's reserves were already below comfortable operational thresholds. Each Arrow interceptor costs between $2 and $3 million. Each THAAD interceptor costs between $12 and $27 million, and they are being fired continuously. Against 56 waves of incoming threats, Israel has already approved an emergency defense. -1 of $826 million to 2.6 billion shekels just to try to keep pace. The problem? Production cannot keep up with consumption. Building a new Arrow 3 interceptor takes months. You cannot 3D print strategic missile defense. And now the factories that make those interceptors have been struck. This is what military planners call supply chain warfare. It is among the most sophisticated strategic moves Iran has made in this entire conflict. Rather than trying to overwhelm defenses in real time, Tehran is now trying to cut off the supply of the weapons that make those defenses possible. It's the difference between trying to drain a bathtub by scooping water out with your hands and simply destroying the faucet. Now let's talk about the weapon they used to do it. The Fata-2, the original Fata-1 was already a problem, a maneuvering reentry vehicle, or MARV, capable of shifting trajectory in the terminal phase. But the Fata-2 is a different beast. Entirely, officially revealed in November 2023, it entered combat use on March 1st, 2026. It carries a hypersonic glide vehicle, an HGV meaning it does not follow a predictable ballistic arc. It sustains hypersonic speeds and essentially skips across the upper atmosphere in an approach that radar systems were simply not designed to track, managing skin temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Celsius is a challenge that only a few nations have fully solved. The level of technology involved in the Fata-2 strongly suggests foreign assistance. In August 2025, Yuval Basesiev Rafael admitted that conventional interceptors are not effective against hypersonic glide vehicles. He called it a new era in air defense. The man whose company builds the shields said they do not work against this threat. At least 3 confirmed impacts from Fata-2 missiles have been verified. The actual number may be higher. The penetration rate of Iranian missiles has gone from roughly 8% in early 2025 to approximately 25% by its end, with stockpiles lower and Iran refining its tactics with each wave. That curve is almost certainly climbing. The United States is deeply embedded in this conflict. American forces have been directly involved in offensive operations since February 28th. American bases in 4 Gulf countries have been struck. The Biden administration, now replaced by Trump, spent years trying to negotiate a nuclear deal. Trump's position was maximum pressure. He is now presiding over a shooting war that has no obvious exit ramp. Russia is watching very carefully. Moscow has not condemned Iran. Russian state media has been covering Iranian missile performance with enthusiasm. The Fata-2's capabilities are being directly compared to Russia's own Oreshnik hypersonic system. This validates the hypersonic doctrine if Iran can degrade Western-backed air defense. That is intelligence gold for NATO adversaries. It validates the stockpile exhaustion strategy. And it creates a massive marketing problem for American weapons systems worldwide. China is maintaining strategic ambiguity, calling for de-escalation while taking detailed notes on THAAD and Patriot performance data. This data will feed directly into its own military planning regarding Taiwan. The Strait of Hormuz blockade is the economic weapon underneath all of this. 20% of the world's traded oil passes through that strait. With oil above $100 a barrel, wealth transfers from oil importing nations to those benefiting from elevated prices. Iran absorbs the pain of war while economic disruption falls disproportionately on Europe, Japan, South Korea, and developing nations. Global shipping companies have begun rerouting around the Cape of Good Hope, adding weeks and hundreds of millions to supply chains. The inflationary pressure will be felt in grocery stores from Sao Paulo to Seoul within 62. 90 days if it continues. Hezbollah remains active on Israel's northern border with rocket barrages and drone attacks on American logistics convoys in Iraq. It is a coordinated strategy of multi-front exhaustion that has been years in the planning. So where does this go in the next 24 to 48 hours? Here's my assessment. Israel will retaliate against the Iranian facilities used to launch today's strikes. That is a certainty. The IDF cannot allow a strike on Rafael and IAI to go unanswered. The domestic political pressure alone makes a response unavoidable. And Netanyahu has built his entire wartime posture around the principle that no attack goes unpunished. The question is escalation management. Does the U.S. authorize Israel to strike deeper into Iranian territory, potentially targeting oil, infrastructure, or the remaining nuclear sites? Or does Washington pump the brakes, fearful of pulling the entire Gulf into a full conventional war? Iran, for its part, has achieved more with this single strike than with 55 waves of ballistic missiles. Combined, they have struck at Israel's ability to sustain the war. Not just Israel's ability, too. Survive the next hour. That is a strategic shift that changes the calculus for every decision-maker in the region. If Israeli interceptor stockpiles fall below minimum operational thresholds, and we may already be approaching. At that point, the protection that Israelis have come to rely on since 2011 begins to degrade, not all at once, but incrementally, visibly, and psychologically devastating. The Iron Dome was never designed to fight a 17-day sustained war against a near-peer adversary using hypersonic weapons. It was designed to handle rockets from Gaza. We are far beyond that scenario now. This is not a bluff. This is not bravado. What happened today is industrial warfare at a strategic level, and its consequences will ripple through this conflict for weeks. Now I want to hear from you. Is what happened today a genuine turning point in this war? Or is Israel's industrial capacity more resilient than Iran wants us to believe? Is the Iron Dome dying? Or is this just one chapter in a longer fight? Drop your analysis in the comments. I read every single one. This is Flashpoint. Stay sharp, stay informed. And we will be back with the next update the moment it breaks.